getting started. So if everyone can gather, that'd be great. Zach, you will be able to see what's happening over at the pot. So you should be able to stand in a place where when you look, you're able to see what's happening inside the pot. If you can't see what's happening inside the pot, you're not standing in the right place. Right? So today we're going to do breaded pork, which is breaded pork loin. And then afterwards we're going to have it with an apple mustard sauce, which goes really well with it. So now, and then afterwards we're going to have it with some vegetables. Today I just have some cabbage, which goes really well, and it's cheap, so we're going to do a white one, and green one. And then afterwards, I'm going to make a starch. Now your starch could be any type of potato that you want, okay, any form of potato. It doesn't necessarily have to be, it could be like any potato that you have made before. So we can make, I'll teach you how to make mash later, but you can roast a potato, you can make palm roasty, you can just make fries if you want, it's up to you. I'm going to make because I have extra stuff. Or you can do what I'm doing, which is to make a vegetable puree. I found things that go well with a pork, and then I put it together. So whenever you're starting to make a dish, you start by making it by looking at what your dishes are, and then afterwards you think about the main ingredient. The main ingredient is pork. Now you want to go and figure out what goes well with pork. Kind of like, what is posse that goes really well with it? Makes it so that it goes well. What does BFF? Okay, so apples and pork go really well. Mustard and pork goes really well. Yams and pork goes really well. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah? So then I start to go and figure out what goes well. So now you're starting to pair it up, because how I'm going to eat your food from now on is I'm going to take a little bit of everything, a little bit of the starch, a little bit of the veg, a little bit of the sauce, and the meat, and I'm putting it all in my mouth at once. And it all should go well together. Okay? In balanced ways. So I have a little bit salty, a little bit of sweet, a little bit sour, a little bit of like bitter sometimes, okay? And then I put it all together, and it's like a party in your mouth. That's exactly what you want for each time you eat. To be honest, it's true. Okay? So when you're ready, I'm going to go and get started. Yes?
Are we going to figure out who won the race?
Oh, there's only 2 people who like wrote an entry on Edmodo.
I didn't know how to vote.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Okay, put on yourself on Edmodo, because I didn't get anything.
Are you supposed to like click on voting, or are you supposed to just write it?
Just write a comment.
Oh.
No, just write down what you want. That's it. Okay? And I was just going to tally it up, but there's only 2 people who wrote, so I couldn't do
Who
it.
won?
Rose.
Out of the 2? Well, I don't know what's a tie, so. Okay, let's get going. Okay, so I'm going to make a puree because I just have extra, and this is called vegetable puree, and it's very similar to your soup. So I have some parsnips, which go well with pork, and I have like a chunk of yam, which just sitting here. And I like to get it to the point where, just like you guys, I want to get it to the point where I can actually cook anything by opening up the fridge, and I don't have to buy groceries. Just looking at my leftovers and then making a new dish from it. So I have my, and this you don't have to do, I'm just showing you. So if you feel like making it, okay. I'm gonna add a knob of butter. I'm gonna add, I added my vegetables. Notice it's cold. Put some water in. Add a little bit of salt. Does this look kind of familiar? Soup. Looks like the soup, except I added less water this time, and I put the cap on it. That's basically it. Next, I'm going to get started with my sauce, okay? So my sauce, I have a pear, which is soft, so I thought, maybe I'll do a pear instead. So I'm going to go and do it because everyone doesn't like pear, I don't know why. Pear and goes really well.
Asian.
So I'm just going to peel this. And I'm just going to use half only. Okay? Okay, so you and your partner are going to be figuring out what to do. So I'm going to go and take a half a pear. That size, it looks very juicy and nice actually. I love pear.
juicy.
I honestly don't know why people don't use it more often. That's another thing about me. If I see that it's an underused product, I over advertise. Because I'm thinking, might as well.
She
no
likes
one's
the
using it. So I like to use things that people don't like to use. Okay, so then I'm going to start by dicing it. Okay, so I'm just parallel cutting it. Okay, just make sure that your knife is not going up or down. And then after you stack it, it's the easiest way. Dice it. Okay, same thing. So I want to see nice dices. Okay, I'm looking at your knife cuts. That is actually proper also. Okay, so I have that ready to go. And then after it's cool, I have half an onion. What am I going to do with this?
Saute.
Caramelized onion? Ooh, that will taste really good. I'll leave the other half for ooh, that's hot. I'll do what I do. Can I get a towel? Thanks. Didn't grab my meat sauce properly. Put it in. Because onions, the longer you cook onions, that's why you cook it in the beginning, the sweeter it gets. So if you're gonna go and cook, so write this down. You don't have to use it, but write it down. But you're cooking the onion, and then, like I said, sometimes when I tell you something like a hint, like the longer it cooks, the better it gets. You should write it into your binder so that later on you can look back and say, hey, this is a hint to know how to go and cook. Okay. Second thing. Okay, I'm gonna go and start sauteing my sauce. Now, I don't know why everyone likes the small pots, because the small pots doesn't encompass all the fire properly, and then burns the side, and you have to cook it longer. Use a bigger pot. 1, better surface area. 2, you're not burning the sides, and in the end, it actually ends up being a better product because you cook it faster. So I'm gonna start my reduction. And I'm going to start by adding my pears. Okay? My pears are quite soft, so I'm going to go and add it in. I'm not adding any flavoring in. I'm going to go and add a little bit of honey. I added like a teaspoon of honey or so, and a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of honey and half a teaspoon of Grenadine Dijon. Doesn't have to be exact. I'm just going by like a knob or a little bit of it. Okay? Yeah. Feel, right? Once you got that in, I'm going to mix it around. I'm going to add a tablespoon or so of apple cider vinegar because I want it to be a little sour. Apple cider vinegar. So when alcohol, you cook it and then you just leave it alone for a little bit, it ends up cooking down. Okay? You don't need to be too high. Okay? Apple cider vinegar is the alcohol. When you cook it down, not cook it down. When you leave it alone for a little bit, it turns into vinegar. So apple cider was alcoholic. Then after a while, it turns into vinegar. Okay? And fermented. So I add this in, and I'm going to let it reduce. So how do I reduce it? My main proportion, write it down, is that you reduce it by half. Okay? Reduce it by half. Okay, I see majority of you taking good notes, so keep it up. Because one thing I hate is when people don't take notes. Reduce it by half. So did you get my hints of how to make a good puree? Did you get my hints of the onion? Yes? The longer you cook something, so that's why a lot of people, when you guys are cooking, you guys just quickly do your onions, it doesn't taste very good. You need to cook it longer. The longer you cook, the better it tastes. Okay? And there's no shortcuts to good cooking. So you're going to go and add some greens to it. So I'm going to get this ready, which is a Savoy cabbage. It looks like a brain. I like this. So cabbage goes really well with pork. Okay. Oh, this got reduced by half. Do you guys see volume in here. You guys gotta move. Okay, over here. All right. Okay, so it's reduced by half, so it's been evaporating the air into the air, the liquid. And then after, I'm gonna be adding now. And then the flavor stays. Now I'm gonna add like around a 3/4 of a cup to a cup of chicken stock. Okay, so come over here. You guys can come over here. You guys can come over here. All right. Make sure that you're able to see. It's for your own benefit, so that you're able to understand how much volume it is. Because I'm not telling the amounts anymore. It says amounts in here, but they're not accurate. It's just a. Okay. So I added around like 3/4 to a cup or so of liquid, and now I'm gonna once again reduce it by what's the magic?
Half.
By half. And afterwards, you're gonna go and take now the Savoy cabbage, and this part is edible, but it's kind of hard. So I usually take the root off. I call it the root. Okay. So then, and all you do is something called chiffonade. Chiffonade means to push into ribbons. So I take this now. I'll do it into ribbons. So now I take it and I fold it up into like a little roll-up kind of idea, but don't press down because you don't want to bruise it. Okay? And you just want to slice into even strips. Okay? I don't want thick strips like this. Okay? I want it really thin. Okay? So, like I said, I shouldn't be seeing thick strips like this or this. I should be seeing really thin strips. Do you all see what I'm doing? Okay, really thin strips. So I have that. I have a green cabbage, and also, because I just have it, purple cabbage. So purple cabbage is the same thing. It just says purple, and it will bleed to become purple. So I will saute this separately, and then afterwards I'll bring it together afterwards. Anyone have this except for coleslaw? Yeah? You guys had it in coleslaw before? Anything else other than coleslaw? Pretty good.
Salad.
Huh? Oh, a salad thing. So you ate it raw. Any of you guys ate it cooked? This actually goes really well with vinegar and sugar. If you cook it down together, it's really good. Okay. So I have the two colors, and then I'm just going to saute both of them. I'm going to start with the green one so that doesn't affect it. Okay. As you can see, I'm reducing it. I'm taking an eye on it. Do you see me stirring this the whole time? No, it's low maintenance. You don't need to. And you should free yourself from doing that. Notice that I'm doing one thing, but I'm always watching the other. Okay? That's key. You guys do not want to go and just micromanage one thing. You have 5 things to go and multitask. You got to learn the word multitask, meaning that you should be doing at least 2 things to 3 things at the same time, both you and your partner, trying to manage it. Okay? Because that's what makes a good cook. A good cook, actually, in the kitchen, we used to manage 10 things at the same time. All right, so I got 1, 2, 3, and later I'm going to do 4. Okay, and it's not like I forgot about it. I'm going to take an eye on it. Oh, good thing I took an eye on it, because now it looks like it needs a little bit more water. Okay, so I just added like a little bit of water just to cover it. I'm going to add a little bit of butter. I usually add this with a little bit of white wine sometimes. Okay, notice that I added, did you see what I did? I added a little bit of oil before I added the butter. It helps it so that it doesn't burn. Okay, I want you guys to start to do this. Instead of sauteing like this, it doesn't do anything. Notice that it's never getting the top part. We need to start doing the flip. Okay? So try to flip it. The best way to know how to flip is to have no fear. So don't be scared that it's going to fall off and you'll be fine. And it won't. Scared that it will fall off? It will. Bring it to the edge and just flick your wrist. I'm going to add a little bit of water and let it cool down. Okay? is half the size of what it is now. Looks really good. Okay, half the volume. So I'm going to turn it down low now while I'm managing everything. I'm going to add a little bit of cream because it's just going to add a little flavor to it. So notice the amount of cream I'm adding. Do you see how much I did? Yeah? It was significantly very little. Okay. Significantly very little. Okay. Give it a nice sauce. See? She has no fear. I did it right in front of her and she's okay with it. Now, last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and add a little bit of cornstarch. Okay, that's the starch I'm going to use. If you add the cornstarch right into the hot, which one of my grade 11s actually recently done, because once again they didn't actually do a proper technique. They just dumped this right in. Okay,
What is that?
this is cornstarch. Okay, so that's what I mean by if you know your technique, you'll cook well. It's not about following a recipe. Okay? It's all about technique. Think about it. Everything that you do is about technique, right? You're going to go and add a little bit of cold water, and this is now my slurry. So I'm going to stir it up so now that it looks like a sludge. Okay? Everything's melted. All right? And now I'm going to add a little bit of, I'm not going to add it all, I'm going to add a little bit of the cornstarch in there. And I know that you know a slurry because you made it before. And you're going to go and put it in. You're just going to take a look at it. Once it looks like it's thick enough consistency, it's a little thinner than a soup. Only a little thinner than a soup. Okay? So it should go on a plate, and it should not run on a plate, but it should slowly move around. Okay? It still moves around. That's key. Then second thing is that it needs to go and, when you're cooking, just give me a second. Looks like this is done, and I want to get this off. And the second thing I'm looking for is that it is thick enough to coat the spoon, but not your mouth. Okay? So same thing. Let it simmer. If it doesn't simmer, it's not going to thicken. Like I've seen a lot of people just keep adding and adding and adding their cornstarch, but they didn't let it boil. So of course it's not going to cook. And then it tastes grainy. So this is boiled, and I know it's done because it coats my spoon. Okay? And when I move it around, it moves quite nicely, but it's not like water. Does that make sense? So it slowly slides, but it's good. So once that's done, I'm going to taste it. Taste your food. If you don't taste it, I'm not going to taste it. Tastes good. Just needs a little bit more sweetness. Just going to add a little honey. Okay. So it'll be more of a sweet and sour taste, which goes really well with pork. Because I like sweet and sour pork. Now that this is done, I do not leave it on the stove. I can take this off, and last minute, before I'm ready to go and plate, I just put it back on the heat, blast it for like 5 seconds, then I plate. Make sense? You never just leave it for half an hour on the stove. What will happen if I leave it half an hour on the stove and just keep cooking after it looks like it's done? Sorry? It'll get thicker to a point where there is no sauce, right? And taste this. Good. Gonna saute my red. Same thing. Add a knob of butter. And my red. You don't have to do red. You can use either red or green. I'm just showing you both. Sorry? You do, but you gotta make sure that you saute separately. Okay? little bit of salt. I'm going to add some water again. Oops, too much water. Too much water this time. I'll let it stew it down then. That was my fault. Okay. So last thing, sauce is ready, vegetables ready, my starch is almost ready. I have a salad because I saw watercress. Watercress goes really well with pork. Like it. Almost done. Not done yet though. Need a little bit more water, it looks like. Now I'm not making a soup, so I'm watching the amount of water I'm adding to this one. So this is ready. I'm keeping both of these all in a warm spot. Now it's time for my meat. Okay? So grab my frying pan, and I'm going to start to do my dredging. Now you can do your breading anytime you want. You can do it in the very beginning of the class. That's no problem. All right. So I have breadcrumbs right here. I'm going to put this, and I have an egg, which I need. Let's use this guy here. Okay. Everything else looks like it's go. Try to organize. Excellent. 1, 2, and 3. Excellent. Yes, excellent. No. Okay. Now this one's going to cook a little longer. It takes a little longer to cook, so I'm going to add a little bit more water to this one, just because I need it. Okay, I'm going to cook this until it's soft. So notice that I keep adding water to this. Okay. All right. I'm going to take my pork. I'm in the fridge. Okay, so you're going to go and take this. So you can do it any time in the beginning. Can I get a piece of saran wrap? You want a nice big piece? Can I get a piece of saran wrap? Please? Okay. And take a piece of saran wrap, and you're going to place it over your pork. And this is actually a trick that people use in the restaurants to make it so that your food looks like it's a lot bigger than it is, but it's the same portion size. Okay. This is ready, so I'm just going to turn this off. Okay. And this is ready, so I'm going to turn this off. I just have to assemble everything. So last thing, you're going to take either a frying pan or you can take a pot, anything like that, and you're going to pound it. You're going to start from the middle, and you're just going to pound it so it becomes 1.5 times bigger than what it is. So notice that it's getting flatter. Yeah? A lot of people think that when they eat it, they're like, wow, this pork is so big. But it's actually the same size. It's just that they pound it to be a little bit bigger. Now, when you're pounding this, you're going to make sure that it's not like you're making one side really thin and the other side really thick. You want it so that both sides are just as, like, it's even, okay? So that you have even cooking afterwards. Tracy, you want to stand up? I'm also the one with heels. so it's a little bit bigger. And then what you're gonna do, season both sides first. So when you're seasoning, don't put your food salt down here, nice and high, so that it actually separates the grain, and you get it even coating. A little bit of pepper now. Watch the amount of pepper. You're not wanting, it's only for flavor. You don't want a lot of pepper at all. It's actually very little. Okay? You're not tasting the pepper. It's only an enhancer. So see the amount of pepper I put in? You can definitely go too much pepper. Alright, so I have that, and now I'm going to do this. And if I were you, I would have a tray that you can put into the fridge, ready to go. I wouldn't put the cutting board, but a tray, like a pizza pan would be great. And you're going to come up. There's going to be a communal breading station, so don't ask me. I should have no one asking me, oh, where's the breadcrumbs? I have the station up here. So you're going to bring your food up here on a tray. Pretend this is my tray. And you're going to start off with 1, 2, 3. Get a wet hand, dry hand, or else you end up breading yourself. Okay? So this is my dry hand, this is my wet hand. So I'm going to start by taking with my wet hand, putting it into my flour. Okay? Once it's my dry hand, I'm going to put it into the egg. With my wet hand, I'm going to take it and put it into my breadcrumbs. Okay, make sure you take off the excess egg. Just give it a shake. One. Okay, I guarantee you, don't be the person who ends up that breads themselves. I always have one of them, at least, that breads themselves. Let's see who it is this time. Yep, they end up breading themselves all over their hands instead of breading the fork. You do need to go and make sure that all the excess egg is lifted out, and then you put it on here. So like I said, this will be a breading station up here. You can do it any time. If you want, you can pound the fork first thing, and then put it into the fridge. Make sense? Don't leave it, you don't have to leave it to last minute. So my suggestion for you is if you see the lines short, go for it. If you see the lines long, do it later. Okay. So I have my hands, it's not breaded. Okay, they're washed. Alright. Now I'm going to finish everything up. Okay. Amanda, pick me a plate that you want me to use. Pick me any plate. Just don't do the Chinese plate because everyone does a Chinese plate. It's a Chinese plate. The one that's curved. Okay, so heat up the pork. Oh, round sounds good. Okay. I'm gonna go and put my pork in. I'm gonna heat up my pan, and then now look at how much oil I'm putting in. I want to add enough oil that it actually coats the bottom layer. So not so much that it drowns it, but it's a good part of it. Okay. You want that because what I'm looking for is, write this down, even a layer. Okay? Even, so I shouldn't be seeing blotches of brown like how it is for a palm roasting. It should be even brown. Okay? Second thing when I put it in, it should sizzle. Okay? If it doesn't sizzle, that means it's soaking up the bread and it becomes soggy and greasy. That's not what you want. Okay? So in it goes. 1, 2. Just because it's for you guys 3. You guys are doing 2. Okay? So this goes away because there's cross-contamination and you want it to be food safe. And while that happens, I'm gonna go and come over, add a little bit of, can you grab the cream again? Cream?
What?
Cream? Okay. So add a little bit more oil just on the edges. It's gonna towel so that you can soak up. Thank you, Jaden. You're gonna soak up the pork. Now you can't overcook the pork, and pork you can eat actually a little bit pink, and that's best. Mel's gonna rinse soon, so I'm just gonna take this up for you. And I'm gonna go in. So nice golden brown on both sides, you see? Okay? You don't want it to be too splotchy. That means one, it's uneven, and two, it's because it's too, you didn't have enough oil. Okay, so now you turn it down. Once it's golden brown on both sides, the inside is cooked. Alright? You don't want to overcook your pork. It becomes chewy. Good thing about breading, one, it makes it look bigger. You saw how thin the pieces are. Two, it seals in the juices so that it becomes juicy inside instead. So I'm just putting it in. Fill it all around. Put it down. Do not burn it. Okay? So now that's done. Turn it off. Notice that all the oil is gone. Okay, that's why you have to bread it before, season it before. I'm gonna go and add a little bit of cream, and I'm gonna blend my. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, as long as you have one side. I'm gonna come over here and I'm just using a blender. I'm just gonna blend my. There. Oops, sorry. Well, you need to finish it tonight. It has to be done because once you start doing this, it has to be done. So you can just give me some class, but if you started it, you have to finish. You didn't start it, right? It's just me some class. Just me some class. Okay, yummy baby food. It's actually really tasty. I love purees. I've eaten like baby food, but eat lots of it. Okay, so on my plate, just gonna do a nice smear. Just because I love smears. It's super tasty. Let me just taste it just because. It's super tasty. Okay. You're gonna put some vegetables right on there. Kind of like to use both. Always put your plate down and then just do. Nice color, eh? Sauce always on the bottom. No, sorry. Sauce always on the bottom if you have something breaded. Okay? And for me, I feel like I want to right here. Nothing too crazy. Put my pork so it leaves it right on top. That's basically it. Okay, good. So, ready? Make this in half an hour. Everyone's good with this?